The notification chimed during my daughter Emilia's piano recital. 27 years of marriage, and Carlos chose Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major to end it all. My hands trembled as I read his message. I wanted divorce. All communication through my lawyer. The auditorium felt suffocating as Emilia's fingers danced across the keys, oblivious to her world crumbling in the third row. I typed back with surgical precision, understood. But understanding and accepting were different beasts entirely. Carlos had been distant for months, working late, taking mysterious calls, claiming the contracting business needed extra attention. I'd chalked it up to midlife restlessness, even suggesting couples therapy. Now his words glowed harsh and cold on my phone screen while our 16-year-old daughter played the piece I'd taught her when she was 7. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd built our life like a carefully orchestrated symphony, managing his business finances, raising Emilia, maintaining our suburban fortress. Every credit card payment, every business expense, every family decision flowed through me like I was conducting some elaborate financial orchestra. Carlos had just handed me the baton to conduct his destruction. 3 days of radio silence. No explanations, no belongings collected, nothing. Just an absence that echoed through our 4-bedroom colonial like a death in the family. Emilia kept asking where Daddy was, and I kept deflecting with promises of explanations that felt increasingly hollow. Saturday morning I was brewing coffee in my favorite ceramic mug, the chipped one Emilia made in 3rd grade, when curiosity overwhelmed my numbness. Carlos's laptop sat abandoned on his desk, password protected but not from someone who'd been paying his bills for decades. His email revealed everything: hotel receipts, jewelry purchases, romantic dinner reservations for 2. But not for us. The woman's name was Cassandra Wolfe, 28, blonde, and apparently worth destroying a family over. Their exchanges read like teenage poetry, full of forever, promises and escape plans. The most recent email made my blood freeze. Can't wait to start our new life with the settlement money. Gloria won't fight it, she's too passive. This'll be the easiest divorce ever. Passive. 27 years of partnership reduced to weakness. I screenshot everything, my hands surprisingly steady. Carlos had clearly forgotten who actually managed his business accounts, signed his contracts, and held power of attorney during his herniated disc surgery last year. He was about to remember. Monday morning I called Carlos's business bank. This is Gloria Armstrong calling about the company accounts for Armstrong Contracting. I need to implement some security measures immediately. Jennifer, the branch manager, knew me well. I'd been handling Carlos's business banking for years, my signature on every major account. Within an hour I'd frozen his business credit lines, cancelled his corporate cards and transferred operating funds to a separate account requiring dual authorization. His personal cards followed like dominoes. American Express, Visa, the premium card he'd been using for his romantic escapades, all cancelled with the efficiency of someone who'd been paying the bills religiously for decades. My phone exploded with texts from Carlos by noon. What the hell did you do? This is insane. You can't just cut off my access. I responded with his own words, all communication through my lawyer. Emilia noticed the tension when she came home from school. Mom, you seem different today. Just handling some business, sweetheart. I was still conducting, but now I was choosing the music. By evening, Carlos's lawyer called. Stuart Blackwood, the kind of sharp-dressed divorce attorney who specialized in high-asset cases and intimidating wives into submission. His voice dripped condescension. Mrs. Armstrong, this financial manipulation needs to stop immediately. You're violating marital property laws. Actually, Stuart, I'm protecting marital assets from unauthorized use. Check the account signatures. 72 hours after my financial lockdown, Stuart Blackwood's calm demeanor cracked like ice in spring. His secretary called first, requesting an urgent consultation. When I politely declined, Stuart himself rang within the hour. Gloria, we need to talk. This situation has become complicated. Through my kitchen window, I watched Emilia practice soccer kicks against our fence, her ponytail bouncing with each strike. Normal life continuing while mine detonated in slow motion. How complicated could it be, Stuart? Carlos wants a divorce. I'm simply ensuring proper asset protection during proceedings. He's living in his truck, Stuart blurted. The hotel kicked him out when his card was declined. His current project payroll bounced. We have 3 separate contractors threatening liens. The image of my husband, who'd strutted around like a peacock just days ago, sleeping in his Ford F-150, should have triggered sympathy. Instead, I felt nothing but cool calculation. Sounds like poor financial planning. Gloria, please. Let's meet and discuss reasonable terms. Carlos is prepared to offer a very generous settlement. Generous. I almost laughed. Stuart, do you know who actually owns Armstrong Contracting? Silence stretched between us like a tightening wire. Because I have all the incorporation documents right here. Very interesting reading. Carlos might want to review who's listed as the primary shareholder. Stuart's breathing became audible. I'll call you back. He would, but not for the reasons he thought. The incorporation papers told a story Carlos had conveniently forgotten. When Armstrong Contracting launched 12 years ago, his credit was shot from a previous business failure. I'd used my pristine credit rating, my inheritance from Grandma Rose's estate, and my name as primary guarantor on every loan, every contract, every major business deal. Legally, I owned 60% of Armstrong Contracting. Amelia found me in Carlos's home office that evening, surrounded by file folders and legal documents. Mom, are you and Dad getting divorced? The question hung between us like smoke. My daughter's 16-year-old face showed wisdom beyond her years. She'd sensed the tremors in our family foundation long before the earthquake hit. Yes, sweetheart. We are. Is it because of that woman? My heart shattered and reformed simultaneously. You knew. Dad's been different. Happy in a way that didn't include us. She sat on the office chair's arm, her weight warm against my shoulder. I saw her text him once. Something about meeting at the Marriott. I pulled Amelia closer, breathing in her familiar scent of vanilla shampoo and teenage possibility. I'm so sorry you had to carry that knowledge alone. Are we going to be okay? Looking at the documents spread across Carlos's desk. Documents that revealed my legal ownership of nearly everything he thought he was walking away with. I smiled for the first time in days. More than okay. We're going to be just fine. Thursday brought a parade of angry contractors to our front door. Big Mike from electrical, Rosa from plumbing, and 3 different drywall crews, all demanding payment for the Morrison project, Carlos's current job site that had become his financial Waterloo. Mrs. Armstrong, we got families to feed, Big Mike pleaded, his weathered hands twisting his baseball cap. Carlos ain't answering his phone, checks are bouncing. This ain't like him. I invited them into my kitchen, served fresh coffee and Amelia's leftover chocolate chip cookies, and spread the truth across my granite countertops like a feast. Gentlemen, Rosa, Carlos and I are divorcing. But Armstrong Contracting continues operating. I'm the majority owner and these jobs will be completed with full payment. Rosa's eyebrows shot skyward. You own the company? 60%. Always have. I pulled out the incorporation documents, pointing to my signature and ownership percentage. Carlos was the face, I was the foundation. The room buzzed with whispered Spanish, Italian, and good old-fashioned blue-collar relief. So we'll get paid? Big Mike asked. Every penny. But going forward, all invoices come to me. All project communications go through me. Carlos is no longer authorized to make company decisions. Within an hour, I had a construction crew that was suddenly very interested in ensuring Mrs. Armstrong's success. They'd learned the hard lesson of loyalty. Follow the money, not the man. Carlos's phone probably exploded with their reports, but I wouldn't know. I'd blocked his number hours ago. Friday afternoon she showed up at my door. Cassandra Wolfe in the flesh. Younger than Amelia's teachers. Wearing designer jeans that cost more than most people's monthly groceries. And sporting the kind of confidence that only comes from destroying other women's lives without consequence. You must be Gloria. I'm Cassandra. I think we need to talk. I studied her through my screen door like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. Pretty in that Instagram filter way, but her eyes held the calculating coldness of someone accustomed to getting what she wanted through manipulation and sex appeal. Actually, we don't. Look, I know this is awkward, but Carlos and I are in love. Really in love. He's miserable in this marriage, has been for years. You both deserve happiness. How thoughtful of you to consider my happiness while sleeping with my husband. Her perfectly contoured cheeks flushed. I didn't plan this. Just happened. Sometimes love. Love. I opened the screen door and stepped onto my porch, forcing her back. You think a 45-year-old man living in his truck because all his assets are frozen is a love story? What are you talking about? Carlos hasn't told you? He owns nothing. The house, the business, the bank accounts, they're all in my name or require my signature. You fell in love with a facade, sweetheart. Cassandra's confident mask slipped. He said the divorce would be simple. That you'd get alimony and he'd keep the business. Carlos says a lot of things. Most of them are lies. Amelia appeared beside me, my fierce daughter studying the woman who'd helped destroy her family. Mom, who's this? Nobody important, Em. She was just leaving. Monday morning brought Stuart Blackwood to my kitchen table, his expensive suit wrinkled and his confidence thoroughly shattered. Beside him sat Carlos, looking like he'd aged a decade in 2 weeks. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing the same clothes from 3 days ago. Gloria, we need to discuss terms, Stuart began, his voice lacking its previous authority. I poured myself coffee from Amelia's chipped mug and settled across from them. I'm listening. Carlos leaned forward, his familiar cologne now mixed with desperation. Gloria, please. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But this financial warfare has to stop. You're destroying everything we built. Everything I built, Carlos. The business is mine. The house is mine. The investment accounts are in my name. You seem to have confused being the face of our operation with actually owning it. Stuart shuffled papers nervously. Mrs. Armstrong, while you technically hold majority ownership, Carlos has sweat equity and partnership claims that what, Stuart? That entitle him to steal from his wife to fund his affair. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo gallery. Should we discuss the hotel receipts? The jewelry purchases for Cassandra? The romantic dinners charged to our business accounts? Carlos's face crumbled. How did you? 27 years of marriage and you never learned that I handle all the finances? I see everything, Carlos. Every transaction, every lie, every betrayal. I'm sorry, he whispered. God, Gloria, I'm so sorry. Sorry you got caught or sorry you destroyed our family? He couldn't answer because we all knew the truth. The Morrison project completion party became my public resurrection. The client had insisted on celebrating their new luxury home renovation, and the entire contracting community showed up to see which Armstrong would emerge victorious from the very public divorce battle. I arrived in my best navy dress, Amelia stunning beside me in emerald green. Carlos hadn't been invited, an omission that spoke volumes. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced as the crowd gathered on the Morrisons' new deck, Armstrong Contracting has new leadership. As majority owner, I'm excited to announce our expansion into sustainable building practices and women-owned business certification. The applause felt like vindication. Big Mike raised his beer. To Mrs. Armstrong, the real boss. Later, as Amelia mingled with the families she'd grown up around, Mrs. Morrison pulled me aside. Gloria, honey, we all knew. Carlos strutted around like a rooster. But everyone in the business community knew you were the brains of the operation. Then why didn't anyone tell me he was cheating? Because we figured you already knew and were handling it your way. Turns out we were right. You were just handling it on your timeline. Across town, Carlos sat in Cassandra's apartment, his romantic fantasy curdling as she packed her bags for a return to her ex-boyfriend in California. Love, apparently, was conditional on financial stability. Stuart had called that morning to inform me Carlos was prepared to sign any terms I offered, no contest. I was finally conducting a symphony that played my song. 6 months later, Amelia and I hosted our first Thanksgiving in what was officially my house now. The divorce had been finalized quietly, Carlos granted minimal visitation rights and a small monthly allowance from the business he'd thought he owned. Emilia carved the turkey with surgical precision, her confidence blooming since she'd learned her mother wasn't the passive doormat everyone assumed. Mom, Cassandra called Dad yesterday. She needs money for her new apartment deposit. And what did he say? That he'd have to ask his ex-wife for permission. Emilia grinned wickedly. I may have overheard and laughed out loud. The doorbell rang and Emilia bounded toward the front door. Big Mike, Rosa and several other contractors arrived with their families, joining our chosen family feast. These people had become our tribe, bound not by blood but by shared respect and honest work. Carlos had texted Emilia an hour ago, asking if he could stop by for dessert. I'd told her the choice was hers. This was her family too. Maybe next year, she'd replied to him. When you've learned the difference between sorry and changed. As we joined hands around the table for grace, I squeezed Emilia's fingers and looked around at the faces surrounding us. Not the family I'd planned 27 years ago, but the family I'd earned through surviving betrayal and discovering my own strength. Dear God, I began, thank you for teaching us that sometimes the greatest gift is learning we never needed someone who didn't value us. Through the window, autumn leaves danced in the wind, golden and free and absolutely beautiful in their independence. Just like us.